The AMG GLB35 from Mercedes tends to fly a little bit under the radar. As always, we're going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what it's been like to live with for the past week, and we're going to talk about some of the updates for 2024, some of which are minor and one of which is fairly major. Let's go ahead and take a look. So the biggest change we're going to see for 2024 is under the hood here. Now we have a 48-volt mild hybrid system as compared to the straight gasoline-powered system last year. This one is still using a turbocharged 4-cylinder. It's a 2-liter, makes 302 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, and that 48-volt system can actually give it a temporary 13 horsepower boost. That's not all it's going to be used for. We'll talk about that a little bit more during the drive, but this is going to be mated exclusively to an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. The GLB is quite compact here at 183 inches overall. It's going to be a little bit shorter than a Q5. It's going to be sort of in between an X2 and an X3, closer to an X3 in terms of size. Of course, it's not the smallest crossover from Mercedes. There is a GLA as well. Your GL stands for a German word that I would totally butcher if I even tried it. It means off-road, and then of course your ABC roughly translates to size and features, which class of vehicle from Mercedes. But we're looking at 111 inches on the wheelbase, nice and long, and this one is on 20s. You can get it on 19s, you can get it on 20s, you can get it on 21s even. If you wanted to go real big here, I can't imagine how this thing would look on 21s, but they're going to be wrapped in Summers. They're going to be wrapped in run flat Summers, unfortunately. So those are going to be Continental Cross Contact 6s. I wish that they would put a standard Summer on that's not a run flat, but it does make things a little bit more convenient. I guess it's just not the best tire for performance and for ride quality. This particular one is sitting on winters because it's New England and it's winter and it is quite cold here. But I love that they give you the option of a bunch of different pretty cool wheel designs. You're also going to get bigger brakes here on the AMG, on this AMG 35 than you would if you went for the GLB 250, the standard sort of GLB crossover here. So you're going to get 13.8-inch rotors in the front, 13 inches in the back. And these are actually cast with the holes in them. Usually the rotors would be drilled. These are cast with the holes for better strength and to hold up to stress and heat a lot better. That's a pretty cool little tidbit. And you got the 4-piston caliper on the front with the big AMG logo going on. This color here is called Starling Blue. This is brand new for 2024, and all the black, the gloss black through the windows, through the mirrors, the roof rails, that's all because this one has the night package on it. Otherwise the mirrors would be body colored. You'd have chrome colored all around everything else. You can get some chrome door inserts as well for $100 if you're into that. And these are going to be touch to lock and touch to unlock on both the front and the back doors, which is a nice little touch, especially if you've got kids like me. I'm always reaching for the back doors before the front, so it's nice to have that feature available. And then when I get out, I'm always going to the back doors to let the kids out, and then I can just lock it here instead of going back up to the front door. Nice little touch for that daily life. Help shave a couple of seconds off of your parking lot time. And then when you lock, of course, you see that the mirrors are power folding. We got LED turn signals in there. It does have a camera in there because you do get a full 360 view standard. You've got heat, you've got blind spot monitoring, power folding, as I mentioned, rear cross traffic alert. The driver's side is auto dimming as well. That is all standard on the GLB 35 here. The front fascia here has been updated for 2024. Just a few tweaks here and there. I'll get you a side-by-side to get a better understanding of that. You got the AMG logo, of course. If you want this all blacked out, you can actually get a second night package on top of this one. This one just has the standard night package. There's a night package plus, which will get all the whole grille blacked out as well. This one has the chrome with the AMG logo, of course. We've got lots of cooling. You can see the intercooler through there. Lots and lots of cooling through here for the engine. This is all nice and open as well. All this gloss black down here is because of that night package that is on this particular one, the regular night package. You have parking sensors, you got fake vents for fake air, parking sensors all across the front, your front camera, because again, this does have the full 360. Updated for 2024, new lights here, new signature LED lights. This one also has adaptive lights because of the exclusive trim on it. Used to be called premium trim, I believe. At least that's what it says on the Monroney. So that must have been an update here, but it's part of the exclusive trim, well, they call it active headlights, which will turn with you at night. Great visibility with these. The back end here, nice boxy shape going on. Of course, we got the parking sensors and the backup camera. We're always going to have a backup camera because it's post 2018 here in the US. Everything is required, but since it has the full 360, that will tie in there as well. All this gloss black, the gloss black diffuser, the black exhaust tips are because of that night package. Once again here, nice big exhaust tips, really get you some good pops and bangs, some turbo pops. But just like we saw updated LED headlights in the front, we've got updated LED taillights in the back as well. Got the rear wiper here. Always love to see that. Nice flat back windshield here for great visibility. We're going to pop this open. This is one of the easiest kick sensors to use. I have so much trouble finding the right spot for the kick sensor. I've had no problems with this one. It's so easy to use, and that's standard. You can open it with the key fob as well. I wish the key was a little bit nicer. You know, it is a Mercedes here, but just a few options there on the key fob. And this opens up into quite a bit of space back here, actually. And underneath here, since we do have the run flat standard, there's not going to be a spare. You do have battery access back here. You've got your jack. You've got a few tools back here and a little bit of space on the side, some nets, and your cover here. Now you can fold those seats down. You've got a 40-20-40 split on the back seats, and this has to be the smallest car that you can actually get a third row in. I would not recommend using a third row in this car. It's got to be so small. The measurements were about 29 inches of legroom, which is like a 2+2 sports car. So I guess if you've got really small kids, but they've got to be forward facing because a rear facing seat's not going to fit back there. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend going for the third row, but if you have a reason for it, you know, let me know down in the comments because I'm curious as to who's actually optioning that third row. But you can always fold it out of the way, and you can fold, it's only going to be 2 seats all the way in the back. And then of course you can use that, or you've got the grab handles to close that up. On the interior, I've got some mixed feelings about this interior. Overall, I do think they did a nice job with it. It looks really nice. It is kind of busy, but it does look nice. You know, Mercedes always makes their interiors look very nice. I love how, like, BMW, it's like, you want gloss black, you want carbon fiber, you want brushed aluminum, you got to pick one. Mercedes is like, just put it all in everywhere. Just, you know, put it all. You can even have some leather, you can have some hard plastic, you can have gloss black, aluminum, and carbon fiber all touching each other, all right there. It's just kind of funny. Actually, you can swap out this carbon fiber as well. There's like an illuminated star pattern. There are a couple of different wood trim options, but that'll just get the little inserts on the doors and up here, and everything else will be the same. Now, the gloss black, at least it's not really touch points up here, but it is already getting dusty. You know, you look at it wrong and it starts to get dusty. I really don't like these haptic slider things. You want to control your infotainment from the steering wheel. You have to like slide around on here, and it's a clunky system. It's not the greatest. That was a problem I had with the C43 as well. And if you want to control your gauge cluster here, you gotta like slide through these menus. Frustrating there, but at least you do have these knobs and buttons down here for controlling your performance. You want to change your driving modes, you want to adjust your suspension setup, your start stop, your traction control. There are like easy access options down here to that stuff, which I love, and that is standard. We got the Napa leather steering wheel. This is the standard one, but you can get microfiber, or just like the sides will be microfiber. If you want to get the winter package, then you can get the heated steering wheel as well. You got the stock on the right here for your transmission. That's standard Mercedes, so it clears up some space down here. You got to get used to the windshield wiper setup over here on the left-hand stock. Not the end of the world. You'll get used to that within a couple of days. New for 2024, this screen is standard across all the GLBs. It was only an option in the last generation, but now it's standard across all the GLBs. It's this like big, giant tacked on double iPad thing, and it's a rectangle behind a round wheel, so I can't see the top of it. I don't love these things. I think they just look a little too tacked on, and it's a little bit too much of an afterthought, but the systems themselves work very well. This isn't nearly as laggy as the one in the C43. In fact, it's not really laggy at all. It's nice and quick, and when you use the touchscreen and you don't use this stuff, when you use the touchscreen, it's nice and easy to use. Lots of settings in there. There's no massage, but there is like a little kinematics thing for the seat, all your vehicle settings, like your driver assist features. Do you want to adjust all the ambient lighting? Because of course there's ambient lighting, like 64 different colors, and you can make it change colors, and it looks really cool at night with the ambient lighting. You know, all your typical stuff. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, both wireless. You got some quick menus up here. Some of your favorites. So if there are things that you use a lot, you can throw that into this favorites menu. That's a nice little touch. Android Auto is always easy to get to. Your vehicle settings are always easy to get to up there. Over here, Mercedes always lets you do all kinds of things with the gauge cluster. There are a bunch of different modes here for the gauge cluster. There's like a super sport, there's a sport, there's a navigation mode, there's a mode like a service mode where it just tells you all your tire pressure and different things going on with the vehicle, which is a great little touch. The graphics are great. It's nice and quick. It looks great, and it's not super cluttered, so great job with that. You got memory seats. Those are standard, 3 different settings. Heated seats are standard as well. No ventilation, unfortunately. Wish that was an option. Unfortunately, it is not, though. These seats here, we've got the microfiber and MB Tex synthetic leather with the red stitching. These are the standard seats. You have a few different options with the MB Tex synthetic leather, and you have a few different options with real leather. I like these seats a lot. They're a little bit on the stiff side. They feel like a little bit more of a sport seat. They're bolstered very nicely, like pretty much perfectly for my body. If I was really skinny, maybe I'd be moving around a lot more, but love to see physical switches. Just a little bit weird that the menu, the climate control menu, is its own button. Like there's only one thing that's missing from down here, and that's being able to change like where the air is coming from, whether it's coming from up here or down there. But you can put on your defroster, you can put it to auto, you can adjust your AC, you can sync it, you can adjust your fan, you can adjust your temperature. That's the only thing that's missing, and yet for some reason it's a menu button that just brings up your whole menu for all your settings instead of just cycling through. Wireless charger, that's standard down here. It's even got a little holder here, I guess, to hold your phone in place. Make sure it doesn't go flying out. It's a little interesting. USB-C, cigarette lighter. Got some rubberized cup holders down here with a little ka-chow. Easy access to your drive modes here, all your drive mode settings. Volume is an easy access roller down here, unlike that slider in the C43. I'm so glad they don't have that in here. Your park assist is easy access to that as well. I don't really trust those systems too much, but it does have park assist. You got rubberized area down here, a little more space in here, and some USB-Cs. Big double pane sunroof, so even the kids when they're in the back get plenty of light when this thing is open. That is a standard feature on this GLB35 as well. Love to see that big sunroof. As far as the back seats go in general here, they are nice and big. They have like 7 different settings you can lean them in, which is not typical of like a bench back seat like that, but there's lots of space back there as well. I was really surprised about the amount of space back there. My kids are fine in forward facing seats. Rear facing seats are going to be a little bit tight, but they should work as long as you're not like a behemoth. I fit fine back there, no issues for me. They've got their own plugs back there as well.
That thing gives me like the goldfish from the Cat in the Hat, like really surprised face. I can't unsee that for the center console when you're sitting in the back here. We've got the armrest in the middle as well back there, but nice and spacious as long as you don't get the third row. Still don't really understand why you would put a third row in something this small, but I guess if you're just hauling around a lot of small people, like just hauling kids around, you don't need any stuff with them or anything like that. I guess it could maybe make sense, but you're not going to get rear facing seats in to the all the way back row. But here's the 5-seater, plenty of space, definitely. Oh, and these red seatbelts here, if you're not into them, you can option black seatbelts for a $0 fee. Oh, and we've got the Burmeister sound system that is standard here in the 35 in the AMG version of this car. Great sound system, sounds wonderful. That is standard in the 35 here in the GLB35, the AMG version. So love to see that. Great sound system. Definitely a bit of a mixed bag in here, but like this haptic stuff on the steering wheel just needs to die. I like the interior, but like some of this stuff, the haptics and the gloss black, not my favorite, but generally speaking, pretty solid interior going on. As always, I've been driving this car around for the last week, doing the daily drive as well as some spirited drives. And I've got to say, after the C43, I was a little bit concerned about how this thing was going to drive. It does have a different powertrain. It still has a mild hybrid system, but it's got a different engine. It's a little bit of a different setup. So that's a good thing here, in my opinion. The transmission here, I was worried about it being a little bit clunky. It's actually very quick and very smooth. This is one of the big things with the C43 was it was clunky in lower gears, and I had some people say, you know, it could be because it's not warmed up. It takes a really long time for that transmission to warm up. Well, this one takes just as long to warm up, and it's still very smooth even when it's cold. So good news here for that. This transmission, they did a very good job with it. It's an 8-speed dual clutch, very smooth, very quick. If you put it into sport mode and you want to shift for yourself, whether you want to shift yourself for yourself or not in sport or sport plus, it is very quick, very snappy, and very smooth. It is very easy to accidentally go extra legal speeds. Be aware of that. The power comes really easily as well. There are some weird little things, like when you're just starting out, if you're in comfort mode from a stop, maybe you're going from reverse to stop, it's a little bit laggy. Or if you're like at very low speeds and it's doing its glide thing, where I still don't understand the glide thing, but when you're coming to a stop, you get almost to a full stop, then the engine will shut off. It's like the engine start-stop system kicks in before you're completely stopped. It's implemented a little bit better in this car than it was in the C43, but it's still just a weird feeling, and it still is a little bit laggy when you want to get going from there. A little bit frustrating there. And that was one thing where I thought that the mild hybrid system would help a lot. Usually when you have a mild hybrid system like this, that electric motor can get you moving when you're at a low speed, so you don't have to wait for the engine to start up again. But unfortunately in this one, it doesn't really help too much. If you pop it into Sport or Sport Plus, or if you just turn off the auto start stop, that does help a little bit, because you can just turn that off from a button up here. But Sport and Sport Plus will also automatically turn it off. It's great to drive. You know, other than those couple little things, like at very low speeds, it's really great to drive. It's so smooth, it's so quick, the power comes so easily, and it has the performance oriented all-wheel drive system here. It's the 4MATIC, it's the AMG Performance 4MATIC that can send up to 50% to the back wheels. It's constantly adjusting based on the situation. And it's got the 3 different damping settings as well, and it can adjust the dampers at each individual wheel, which is very helpful for cornering. It really does give you these like hot hatch vibes. It's like a little bit bigger than a hot hatch would typically be, but it does give you hot hatch vibes when you start throwing it around, but with even like a much quicker transmission than like a DSG. I mentioned those damping settings, you do, and I mentioned the different driving modes. You can set up an individual mode as well, where you can set everything to what you want, but in those different driving modes, it'll adjust your suspension setup, it will adjust your steering feel, it'll adjust the pumped in engine sound, which I don't typically love, but it does make some fun sounds here sometimes. But I like to put it in individual mode and then just crank everything up, crank the transmission up, crank the steering up, and then crank the engine sound all the way down. So I like that customization there, and it is a little bit harsher than you would typically expect from our Mercedes, but with it being AMG, it's really not bad. Like, I would have no problem living with this, and if you're on a smooth highway or something, it's very nice and smooth. Now for like just the regular daily driving, it's super easy. Again, the transmission is so smooth, the power is so easy. It's very easy to daily drive. It's comfortable. These seats have been great. Visibility is great because it's so boxy. I've got great visibility out the back, great visibility out the sides. These mirrors are they feel a little bit on the small side, but the visibility is totally fine. We've got rear cross traffic. You got blind spot monitoring. It's got the pre-collision stuff where it'll stop you if you're about to run into something. It's got the full 360 camera going on. All that stuff is standard. And it has the radar cruise with the lane centering system. It's like a level 2 system here that works very, very well. It's very good at keeping you centered in your lane. It's very good at managing the distance between you and the person in front of you. It is really a very good system. And then once you hit the turn signal, if you want, it will even change lanes for you. You do have to keep your hands on the wheel for this one, but if you want it to find the gap for you and change the lanes for you, it will, and it does a great job with that. It seems a little bit silly, but honestly, it works really well. In terms of the noise in here, I expected it to be louder, actually. It's not too loud. There is some road noise coming in. I am on winter tires. If you're on run flats, usually run flats are kind of loud too. Run flat summer tires are going to be a little bit loud too, but it does a pretty good job of insulating from the sounds. So I imagine that your sound levels are going to be about the same on the standard tires. The beeps are so loud and harsh. That is one thing. I wish that the warning systems were not so harsh, so loud, but they do work pretty well. They're just a little bit aggressive maybe, but you can adjust those through the infotainment. Now, one thing I will mention about the like radar cruise level 2 system thing going on here is when you adjust your speed setting, you get to use these great little haptic controls to control your speed, which is extremely annoying. So setting your speed, setting your cruise is easy because you can push the buttons. If you want to just jump by 5 miles an hour, you can push that. That makes it nice and easy. You can just push up or down. If you want to set or cancel, resume, all that stuff is pushing buttons. But if you want to go up like 1 or 2 miles an hour, you want to go up, just to go down a couple miles an hour, you have to use the slider, and it's very clunky. But at least you do have easy access to your drive modes. You have easy access to your suspension setup. You have easy access to your traction control, which doesn't really actually completely disable the system, but if you want to turn that down, then you can. As an overall experience, the driving is great. I feel like this car doesn't get enough attention in terms of just for how fun it is to drive, how great it is for both daily driving as well as like pushing it a little bit.
At the end of the day, I feel like this vehicle deserves a little bit more hype than it gets. It really is a jack of all trades. It does its job so well. For me, this is about the perfect size. I have 2 kids under 10 and I have a 60-pound dog. This is just about the perfect size for my life. I can carry them all around. When I drop them off, I can push it a little bit. It's a little bit more space than a hot hatch, but if you're coming from a hot hatch, maybe you need a little bit more space. You want something that's a little bit of an upgrade luxury-wise. This is really a great choice. My only real issues are some questionable choices on the interior here, but everything else, this is really worth taking a look at. If you cross shop these, if you ended up buying one. If you didn't end up buying one, let me know down in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear from owners because I see a lot more X3s. I see a lot more Q5s. I don't see too many of these out on the road, but I really enjoyed my time in this vehicle. As always, hit all the YouTube buttons, please. It really does help me out. Like, leave a comment down below if I missed something, if you just want to say hi. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.